For nearly 20 years, sports has been defined by a handful of names: LeBron, Brady, Messi, Serena, Curry. These athletes didn't just win championships. They became symbols of excellence, figures whose influence stretched far beyond the stadiums and arenas where they competed. They shaped conversations about leadership, discipline, and what it means to perform at the highest level. But every era eventually reaches a turning point. Careers wind down, new generations arrive, and a quiet question begins to form in the background. Who comes next? History tells us that this moment always arrives. At one time, the world wondered who could follow Michael Jordan. Before that, people asked who could replace Muhammad Ali. Each generation eventually produces its defining figures. But what actually makes someone iconic? It's not just talent. There are plenty of talented athletes. The difference is something harder to measure: consistency, presence, the ability to perform under pressure again and again, until greatness is no longer a prediction, but a fact everyone can see. Eventually, the conversation shifts. The next generation stops being promising young athletes and starts becoming the standard by which others are measured. And moments like this remind us of something deeper. Greatness rarely appears overnight. Behind every iconic athlete is a long story most people never see. Years of preparation, setbacks, discipline, and relentless focus. The highlights show the victory. But the real story is everything that happened long before that moment. And when we step back and study those journeys, something interesting begins to appear. Patterns, preparation, resilience, leadership. The quiet habits that shape extraordinary outcomes. Those patterns show up again and again, whether we're watching athletes, leaders, or innovators. Sometimes we notice them through reflection, sometimes through conversation, and sometimes by studying the stories people leave behind. Because when you really look closely at those stories, you start to understand something important about excellence itself. Which brings us back to the moment we're in right now. We're watching the closing chapter of one remarkable era in sports, and at the same time, we're witnessing the beginning of another. Somewhere among the athletes competing today is the next figure who will define a generation. The only real question is whether we recognize it while it's happening. Just saying, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you think will define the next generation of sports? Continue the conversation at booksbybaron.com. I'm Isabella Pierce, and this is Just Saying.